Okay. Hello world, welcome to the journalist chat today. And today we have a very special guest from Taiwan, and we have a Yu Han, and she's an amazing. She has been done a wonderful job in Taiwan. So please welcome our guest tonight. Hi Yu Han, how are you?
Hi, nice day. I have a good day today.
Yeah. So and I know there is a night there, and though I mean still, and it's kind of midnight. I think it's very tough for you to join, but it's a huge pleasure you join with us. So, Yu Chuhan, you know that all the world right now facing the problem about the COVID-19, and there's a bad situations going on, and you are doing the field reporting and also covering the China. And if you share with us about the present context of Taiwan, what is the present conditions, the area you are living?
Um, actually, I work in a TV station called CTI News in Taiwan, and mainly focus on the cross-strait daily news and do special covers for mainland China. So I'm very familiar with mainland China's things. And now the situation in Taiwan is like, well, we are not very infected by the virus. We do a very good contrast. I got a number here. So we got like 440 confirmed cases, 7 deaths, and 0 local new cases for a month, because the people in Taiwan wear masks and we keep social distance, and people are very aware of the pandemic. They quit going to the gym or going to like public places without wearing the mask. So our condition is quite wild.
Yeah, I think, but like because the Taiwan is an neighboring country of China and near to the Philippines and Indonesia and also the Japan. So if I ask you, I know you are a reporter, you have been covering the Chinese issues. So what about your motivations and what about your journey to be a journalist? Because we know about the issues in this kind of country is very tough to do the journalism.
I majored in political science when I was a student in university. And in Taiwan's situation, we can talk about politics without discussing the Taiwan and China's relationship. And when I become a sophomore, I know I need something else to make it more practical. So I chose mass media as my minor. And as everyone knows, Taiwan is an outsider of international organization nowadays. We want to attend WHO, WHA, and many other organizations. And for some reason, we all know those organizations turn down our applications every time. The only way Taiwan can speak out is through the press, through the media, through the YouTubers. So that's why I become a journalist.
Yeah, I mean, so you are covering from the field and you have been working and covering the Chinese issues for a long time. I mean, kind of 2 or 3 years. So when you first heard about the COVID-19 and the pandemic happened in Wuhan state, when it is first time happened, as a journalist, you were from Taiwan, when you first heard about that, and what was your impressions in that moment?
When I first heard of the COVID-19 happening in Wuhan, that day, we just know some unknown virus happened in Wuhan. We know the news, but the Chinese news told us it was not very hard to deal. It was just some virus they don't know, but it can be controlled. But Taiwan doesn't believe in that saying. We act very quickly. We locked down the planes from Wuhan immediately, and we stopped exporting the mask to other countries in the world, including mainland China. And that pisses off some of the Chinese because they think if mainland China needs help, we should always be there for them. Yeah, in their opinion, Taiwan is part of China, right? So, yeah, but it turns out Taiwan was doing a very good job. We have we are in a good condition right now. And I got some numbers here. So we start save max for our citizens, so everyone can get 9 max in 2 weeks now. And people are highly aware of the pandemic, and they can also donate their mask if they don't need it online. So 10 million masks are donated to the US, to the Europe, and our airlines around the world now.
Yeah.
And
So Yuchan, how you first heard about you talk about the Chinese media talking about like the situation was under the control, and but Taiwan did not believe it. And what kind of media? Through what kind of media you basically heard this information? Like their international media or their national media? Why Taiwan did not believe China?
well, Taiwan and China are not in a very good relationship. We are very close trade partners, but we are not like friends. We realize our economics on it. Like we have a lot of Taiwan-funded enterprises, and millions of Taiwanese are working in China, so we are familiar. But we also know the governments are very different from Taiwanese ones. And we just have our 2020 presidential election. We have 2 parties in Taiwan. I draw a picture for you.
No problem, you can share. Yeah, wow, great.
So, sorry, where's the camera?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, this way. So the DPP here is Democratic Progressive Party. They support the independence. And the KMT here, Kuomintang, is close to China. But the DPP won the election in 2020 and they become the ruling party. So that shows the public opinion of Taiwan now. So people are far from China now, but we still realize our economic under China. But we don't want to become China in the future or become Hong Kong in the future. So
yeah. I mean, Taiwan don't want to become a China or Hong Kong. So
yeah.
what Taiwan want to be in future?
Well, it's hard to say. DPP won the 2020 election. That reflects most of the people's opinion in 2020. But there's another election like 4 years after. But things will change. We elect every time. So I cannot tell what we will become in the future. But now we don't want to be that close with China.
Okay, so Yuchuan, I know like you were covering the Chinese issues. So when before you cover about the China issues and also like different internals, business relationships, and also you have done wonderful assignment before. So we know that during the time of lockdown and during the time of COVID-19, so how you are basically covering China, because we know that it's not so easy to cover the China.
Well, we get some news from CCTV, the official media of China, and we also do the cross-strait interview, maybe through the video, like interview like us, or maybe I will just fly to China and just interview some of the people. And some of their press conference will send us invitations. Well, I have to say, CTI News, my company, CTI News, is very close to China. We have a very close relationship. So we have journalists in Beijing, journalists in Shanghai. So they will cover some of the press conference and they will be invited to many events in China. And me also was invited to some of the events. I have been to like press conference in Guangdong and press conference in Gobi to different issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a journalist, when you were investigative journalist, and regarding the covering the event, when you feel to investigate something like because every journalist has an investigative mind, you know. So when you saw that, and in different world media, they're covering the China, and they're talking about the different perceptions and also the different contexts, different fact they are figure out. So in the meantime, what happened in your mind, like? Are you also try to do the same thing, or what about your struggles? You know, when you are covering the China and try to figure out the exact fact.
Hmm. The journalist in Taiwan doesn't have that much power to control the way you are going to report. It's much controlled by the company. The media in Taiwan is compete in an open market, so they have different political preferences. Different companies like different parties. Like some of the companies will close to DPP, some of the company will close to KMT. So it's controlled by the company's owners. And if you watch the different news from different companies, the news will be different. I mean, totally different. So it's hard to say that how to discover the fact. You will try your best to be neutral, but your higher leader will say
Yeah, there
you
is
put
no,
the
I mean,
opinion.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's happen everywhere, you know. I mean, no one is a neutral. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just sometimes it's a matter of objectivity and try to be do the object and also try to do make it balanced. But yeah, it's happening everywhere, you know. So if I ask you like what about the press freedom in Taiwan? And because when you were talking about like Taiwan are not that much influenced by China, but in the meantime, Taiwan also had a wonderful relationship with China, and I mean a lot of things depend on the Chinese business, you know. So
Yeah.
how Taiwan, like, what are the press freedom of Taiwan?
Press freedom will be, there could be many different aspects in Taiwan for different companies. So I think that's pretty free. You can be very close to China or very far from China's influence. It depends on the owner. So you can write all the kind of news if you want. That's kind of very free condition, right? But if you want to be, but for me, my company is very close to China. If I want to write something bad about China, my company won't approve. So I don't know. Should I say it free or not free?
Yeah, I
Very
think you
complicated.
really, I think you really said well. You know, like this is something even your company all the time. Like company has a different ideology, you know, and company think about the one of the party, political influenced by the political party, and I think that's very interesting. So if I ask you like because and everyone those who have worked in with the Chinese issues and also work in China, they have a worst and best experience. So can you please share with us about your worst experience to cover Chinese fact?
My worst experience that one I have been invited to a 4-day marathon. Sorry. Once I have been invited to report a 4-day marathon in Gobi Desert. Do you know Gobi Desert in Gansu province, inner land of China? There's a ceremony awards, and they invite me to sit in the first row during the. Oh, is
No
there?
problem. You can share. Yeah,
Okay,
keep going.
sorry.
No, this is just a
Um,
scroll. Yeah, you can share.
okay, so during the sorry, I just
No, I'm
forgot.
talking about the worst experience you have. like when you cover the Chinese
Oh, the worst
issues?
experience. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was invited to a photo marathon in Gobi Desert, and they asked me to sit in the first row of the award ceremony. And when the people stood up to sing the national anthem of PRC, I feel very awkward because I can't sing that song and I don't know the song. But if I still have to work like covering the cross-strait daily news, this will happen again and again. In every PC conference, in every different events, that will happen. They will force me to become a Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, though, like before the live, we basically talk about like how the Taiwan and the language is very close to the Chinese language and the Taiwanese language because both of you speak in Mandarin. So I think this is important. And also, if I ask you the one of the question is, what do you think as a journalist? Why China tried to hide their information? And is really they're hiding the information? Why?
Why they are hiding the information from people? It could be many reasons, and the most important one I think is they really don't want people to have different voices from the government. And do you know Weibo? They're in social internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people are discussing something they don't want people to discuss, the topic will be removed at once. Like in 3 minutes, the topic will be gone. That's how they control the discussion among people. And when they are discussing the topic to a wrong direction, the direction government don't want it to discuss. They want to control the society, so let's make people stop talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, how you were talking about before we were discussing off the record, like the journalists are afraid to cover the Chinese issues, and because journalists are all the time try to concern about the Chinese issues because there's a lot of things this might happen. So, and what will be you? I mean, what is your situations? Are you afraid of to cover the Chinese fact? And suppose if they know about like if you if you did the investigations investigations on China, what might they can do?
I think I'm free to cover the Chinese fact if I get the fact. I'm not sure if I'm getting the real fact from China because some of my resources might be the CCTV or the Chinese press. According to their report, this whole story could be A, but actually the things we don't know, right? So if I got the whole story, I can report it by my way, by a neutral my way. But if I didn't get a real fact, like when the COVID-19 outbreak, they didn't tell us that it's a new kind of virus or that can be controlled, then I don't know what to say, right?
Yeah,
I don't know the truth.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm gonna ask one of the though it's kind of more confidential. Like, so sometimes U.S. State Department says like the COVID-19 is an Chinese virus, and China talk about this is an USA virus. Like,
Yeah.
What about your perception on this blame game?
I think it's not the right time for the argument. We should keep saving lives during this time. Like Taiwan, we don't discuss where the virus come from. We just saving masks. We just keep developing the new pandemic prevention measures. We don't want to discuss things like this. So we control our virus, right?
Yeah, because recently we saw that like in one of the press conference and one of the journalists asked to the Donald Trump about what
I
the
know
present
that.
condition, why people are dying, and he was talking about the, successfully handle the crisis. And in the meantime, Donald Trump said, "You can ask to the Chinese government."
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm asking the questions. So I know that because the Taiwan is also the depend on the Chinese economy. I mean, though there's independent economy, so we know that after the COVID-19, a lot of things change. So what a special thing change in Taiwan, especially if there any negative impact play in China, Taiwan?
Um, yes. Actually, after the outbreak of COVID-19, the pandemic-related news become very important in journalism. And we have a press conference of our CDC every day. They want to make sure people know what's going on. And the TV shows becomes when the CDC is having the press conference, the TV station will have a live broadcast at the same time. And they say the press conference has become one of the most popular TV shows in Taiwan. So people are very care about the CDC's press conference. They watch it every day. And after the pandemic, we have to wear masks on the MRT or metro, and we stop going to the movies. So some of the movies are facing some challenge, and the gyms are also closed. But we don't have lockdowns, so people still have to go to work these days.
No, I'm talking about especially the business in between the China and also the Taiwan, because we know that there's a lot of country where
Um,
basically they are not allowing the Chinese to do the business even, and there's a lot of country because I mean the situation is going on because every people are not able to go each other country, though China handle in a wonderful way. In a moment. So, I mean, what the relationship is going on and how basically the business relationship is going on in between China and Taiwan.
the business relationship between China and Taiwan is like we have over 15,000 Taiwanese founded enterprises in China, and millions of Taiwanese are working across the strait. And after the outbreak of COVID-19, these millions of people comes back to Taiwan and they lose their job, and they don't want to go back again. So they start to find new jobs in Taiwan. That's a new trend, yeah. And business, because Taiwan's factories are not locked down, so we got more business to do from China. We got some business from China to do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the people who just came back from the China, they're not able to go back in China. So, I mean, what about the prevention? What about the measure your government has been done to stop, and also because it's a huge amount of workers, they just come back from China. So, what about what
Um,
measures your government has been done regarding that?
when they come back to Taiwan, they have to do a 2 weeks quarantine, forced to do 2 weeks quarantine. And after that, they have to stay at home for quarantine. But that's not, okay. Yeah, they have to stay at home for quarantine. And after 2 weeks, they can go back to work if they are healthy, still healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and do you think, and this is a very interesting question, and this is very interesting, Taiwan is the neighboring country of China, but there's a different country, those who are like in Europe, like in Italy, USA, like there's a lot of problem is going on about the COVID-19, and it's more things happen in that country. So why, what measure your government have taken? That's why Taiwan is still safe, though it is very close to the China.
Well, people in Taiwan always wear masks. Even there's no pandemic, they wear masks just because the air isn't clear enough. So people wear masks at first. And second, we don't believe China. So when China says that there's no pandemic, we don't believe it. We just start preparing our masks, saving for our citizens, and we start to use a mask map to let people know where we can get masks. And people are also very aware of the situation of pandemic now. So people just don't go out abroad. They don't go to travel, even in our nation. They don't go to gym or movies. They keep social distance in the public. And just like I say, we wear masks in our public transportation, like bus, like metro. So there's no transmission in between people.
Yeah, I mean, so because though the Taiwan is a very neighboring country of China, Taiwan and Taiwan people are not believing the China. So do you think the world should believe China or not?
We get information from China, that's for sure, because that's where the COVID-19 outbreak. But we have to prepare if they are not telling the truth. So prepare always is the best way to prevent like pandemic like this.
So I mean, are you agree with me? I mean, in your conversations, like it means like China hide the informations and that they don't usually tell the truth to the peoples, and the Taiwan has an experience with that, right?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So basically, the one of the our audience asked like, why do they don't believe China? And I mean, you maybe already answered, or if you can
Yes.
answer one more. Yeah.
I think I will answer this because even in a time like this, China also keep us outside of WHO, WHA, and many international organizations. And that is really hard to accept by many Taiwanese. And even in a time like this, they send aircrafts and warships 7 times this year, and that made our relationship even worse. And the spokesman of PRC's Ministry of Foreign Affairs warned Taiwan's government, you shouldn't planning independence during pandemic. We are not allowed it. And that really kept Taiwanese very angry about it.
Yeah. And what about, I think you have still you are keep communicating with your friend, those who are from China. And what about their conditions right now? What about their reaction when Taiwan are not believing China? And in the meantime, also, what about their reaction? Is still you have a communications with them, the people those who are inside in China. I mean, any of the relatives inside in China.
You mean the Taiwanese people in China or just Chinese in China?
Yeah.
2 kind of people?
Yes, I mean the first is like the Taiwanese people, those who are living in China, and also like the Chinese people, those who have a relationship with you. And what about their reaction and present conditions?
So their reactions are very different. Taiwanese people in China now, they work there. They still being quarantined in Beijing and still feeling not safe. But Chinese in China feel safe already. They walk out to have journey during the May 1st. They have a little vacation and they feel very they trust their government very much. So, and their media start to report some news, not about the virus. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that. So one of the questions our audience asks, like, do Taiwan don't believe China in this period of COVID-19, or they don't believe them? I mean, the Taiwan is all the time. I mean, not believe the China or only specifically for the COVID-19.
we didn't, I would say, we didn't fully trust Chinese government, but the things become worse after the outbreak of COVID-19. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how basically the Chinese government dominating the Taiwan, and how the Chinese business dominating the Taiwan? That might be, one of the second last question.
First of all, is about the economics, because most of the economics inside Taiwan related to China. So that's the first part of the dominate. And second, there's a saying that China influenced the Taiwan's election. They put something on the internet to influence people's thoughts during the election. But we still elect the President Tsai from DPP to become our ruling party. Well, so the political influence will be a little slight, but the economic one is very strong.
Yeah, I think might be a bigger possible to do, and also continue the independent relationships with China. So if I ask you, like, because you are a journalist and you told me like you wanted to do the field reportings. So
Yeah.
what about your goal, and I think what you wanted to do? What kind of investigative report do you want to do in your future? Because we know the situations, and how wondering and what kind of obstacles you will face for that.
Well, become a field reporter in Taiwan will be very, very difficult because no company can afford the expensive insurance. And as I know, one of the biggest Mandarin media, which is CCTV, got a lot of field reporters. But if you want to work inside CCTV, you got to possess the PRC's passport, which is not allowed by Taiwan's law. So I think Taiwanese journalists, if they want to be a field reporter, they got to put many efforts to reach the world. And if my dream come true, I become a field reporter, I think staying in Taiwan will be, because
because there's a lot of international correspondents and international media, those who are covering the Taiwan, and also I might be like this might be their opportunity also, if you want to do the investigative report, and also it might be there will be the opportunity because we are able to speak in Chinese because it's so close to the language. Yeah, and we are already. End of the show. So if you want to say something to my audience, I think that will be amazing.
Okay, I really want to say something. Taiwan wants to join WHO, WHA, and many international organizations during this pandemic time, because Taiwan wants to share our pandemic prevention measures to other places in the world. Taiwan can help. Believe in us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that will be amazing. So, are you ever heard about the Bangladesh? Have you ever visited Bangladesh?
No, I haven't. I would like to.
Okay.
Are you inviting me?
Yeah, feel free to come in Bangladesh, and you are welcome to visit Bangladesh. And I think there's a lot of you'll find a lot of content to read about Bangladesh. But when you will see the physically in Bangladesh, and then I think it will be an amazing. And I think after the lockdown situations, and we are though we have a wonderful relationship with the China, but still I don't want to say like we all the time trust about the China, because there's a though we have a very good relationship, good business relationship, but still there's a lot of hide and seek, and there's a lot of diplomatic matters, So thank you very much to be here, and I hope like you'll be able to come in Bangladesh and after the lockdowns, and you enjoy the shows. So the audience, and we believe like during the time of lockdown, the creativity, entertainment, and the recreation are not locked down. So and today we our so today. Basically Tang with us, so we are trying to understand the context of the world. So tomorrow, and also we'll join with another guest. So please stay tuned with us and don't miss the show. This is your show. Bye bye for you, and it's a wonderful pleasure you are here. I think you will stay safe and stay home.
Yes.
Bye bye for tonight.
Bye.